Hello students, how are you? Greetings from the Department of OBGY, BCMCH. As a continuation of the previous class, today we will be dealing with occipito-posterior presentation. It is actually a cephalic presentation, but the occiput and the posterior fontanelle is in the posterior quadrant of the pelvis. So, the posterior fontanelle lies adjacent the sacroiliac joint. Why do we want to make such a hue and cry about occipito-posterior position? After all, it is a cephalic presentation. Here the difficulty is that the labor gets prolonged and the second stage gets delayed because the occiput has to rotate through 3/8 of a circle. Out of the cephalic presentation, almost 75 to 80% is occiput in the anterior quadrant of the pelvis or in the transverse plane of the brim. In occipito-posterior, as you know, the posterior fontanelle is in the posterior quadrant of the pelvis and the lie is longitudinal, attitude is deflection, engaging diameter is suboccipitofrontal or occipitofrontal. 70 to 75% is in occipito anterior and 20 to 25% comes as occipito posterior. The occiput is in the posterior quadrant of the pelvis. The sagittal suture is in the oblique diameter. Engaging diameter is suboccipitofrontal, which is 10.5 centimeters, and or it can be occipitofrontal, which is 11.5 centimeters. So the posterior fontanelle here is in the posterior quadrant of the pelvis, and usually it is right occipito-posterior because sigmoid is in the left quadrant of the pelvis. So the dextro-rotation as well as the sigmoid favors an ROP more than an LOP. So in the palpation, it is a longitudinal lie. In your umbilical grip, you are feeling the back extremely in the flank and the limb buds are felt anteriorly. So in inspection, you find a subumbilical flattening because the convexity of the back is not anteriorly. And in the first pelvic grip, this is the most commonest cause of mobile head in a primate, and the first pelvic grip is a hard, round, ballotable mass. In the second pelvic grip, the occiput and sinciput is almost at the same level, and this is the most commonest cause of mobile head in a primate. And auscultation, you hear the fetal heart in the extreme flank of the woman. Certain factors favors an occipito-posterior presentation, like a high inclination pelvis, an android pelvis, or an anthropoid type of pelvis. In android pelvis, there is less space in the forepelvis or the anterior quadrant of the pelvis, so the bulky occiput goes and occupies the posterior quadrant of the pelvis. In anthropoid type of pelvis, where the inlet of the pelvis is oval, androposteriorly also favors an occipito-posterior presentation. Course of labor is majority, almost 80% of it rotate anteriorly. So the occiput comes and hitches against the pubic symphysis. Here the internal rotation is 3/8 of a circle or 135 degrees. And that is why the labor gets prolonged and the second stage gets delayed. But 80% the delivery is completed just like in an occipito anterior as it rotates through 135 degree. Almost 20 to 25% it undergoes a reverse rotation into the hollow of the sacrum, and here delivery is completed by a face to pubis delivery. What happens is that the root of the nose will hitch against the pubic symphysis, and by extreme, see now the sagittal suture is in the AP diameter of the outlet. So by a process of extreme flexion, the forehead, glabella, occiput delivers, and then by extreme flexion the face sweeps out. This is called a face to pubis delivery. The common mistake the students make at this stage is that Whenever this is being asked in the examination, you just get confused with a phase presentation. Phase presentation is actually an abnormal presentation. This is an abnormal position where it undergoes reverse rotation into the hollow of the sacrum and delivers as phase to pubis. Now, thing is that as the second stage approaches, the anal aperture opens, the introitus gapes, and unlike a vertex presentation, it is the biparietal diameter that distance the perineum, and hence you have to put a liberal episiotomy, otherwise deep perineal tears or extension of the episiotomy can occur in a phase to pubis delivery. Whereas in a vertex, it is the bitemporum that distends the perineum, but here it is the biparietum, which is a broader diameter, that distends the perineum. In yet another few conditions, it remains as a persistent occipito-posterior. When failure of rotation occurs, it can be a persistent occipito-posterior where the posterior fontanelle just lies adjacent to the ischial spines and it remains in the same oblique diameter and it persists in that position. In some condition, a forward rotation occurs for 45 degrees and it gets arrested as a deep transverse arrest. Deep transverse arrest is a second stage diagnosis. So you cannot say deep transverse arrest in a first stage of labor where the cervix is not fully dilated. So the cervix has to be fully dilated. Sagittal suture has to remain in the transverse diameter at or above or even below the level of the ischial spines. And with good uterine contraction, there is failure to rotate. That is deep transverse arrest. The management of deep transverse arrest with CPD is cesarean section, whereas without CPD, you can go ahead with instrumental delivery. How do you realize that there is deep transverse arrest without CPD? Here the cervix will be fully dilated, no pole will be palpable per abdomen, and there will not be undue caput and no pathological molding. So here, when there is no CPD, we can go ahead with either vacuum extraction. The advantage of vacuum is that it does an auto rotation, but here see the cup is being applied at the flexion point, that is towards the region of the occiput, and the instrument does auto rotation, so the occiput turns anteriorly to hitch against the pubic symphysis. Then by the extension, the fetal head comes out. See now, the occiput has come and hitched against the pubic symphysis, and with the vacuum itself we do the extension and the baby is delivered. Next instrument which you can use for rotation is forceps rotation and delivery of the baby as forceps, with forceps. Here it is a cephalic application that we do. So there is an anterior blade and a posterior blade. The anterior blade is swept through the baby's face and kept over the parietal prominence, and the posterior blade is applied directly as posteriorly. Then unfortunately, this is not the forceps that we are using. This is an outlet forceps. We don't have a Kielland's forceps in the department, and we do with this instrument we rotate it so that the occiput will hitch against, and the cephalic application is now made a pelvic application. You do not remove the instrument. With the same instrument, then you do the extension just like in a vertex presentation. The other method by which you can do is a manual rotation. In manual rotation, in a right occipito-posterior, the obstetrician is using the left hand. See the fingers, the thumb is over the parietal eminence anteriorly, index finger is over the lambdoid suture, and the two fingers posterior parietal prominence. So first she disimpacts, does a flexion, thus does manual rotation, and after keeping the fetus in this position, a forceps is applied as a right and a left blade. Right and a left blade, and extension is facilitated. Another method is digital rotation and forceps delivery. In digital rotation, actually the two fingers are over the lambdoid sutures, and during contraction it is being rotated anteriorly. All these are easily said but very difficult to do also. After the occiput hitches against the pubic symphysis and the sagittal suture is in the AP diameter of the outlet, you can apply even outlet forceps.